like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and on my channel I like to talk a bunch of shit and make you laugh. So if that's your thing, make sure you hit subscribe. And if you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back. As always, I appreciate you more than words can say. So the time has finally come. It is the Zoom call that LadyBoss made to tell all of their employees that they were closing down in 2022. Now, if you're not familiar with LadyBoss, LadyBoss is an MLM now. It was purchased from Kaelin and Brandon Poulin, who had originally started the business. And Russell Brunson, who is the co-founder of ClickFunnels, purchased the company from them and turned it into an MLM. And that happened in January of this year. So prior to them selling the company, in April of 2022, they decided to tell everybody that they were closing down. It was something that came as a shock to both the employees and the consumers, all of the community, the LadyBoss community that we hear so much about. And they were liquidating everything. So they liquidated all of their stock, supposedly. And then in August of 2022, a few months after they announced this closure and had this liquidation sale, they decided to announce that the sale had happened and LadyBoss was surprisingly no longer closing. So that's kind of the short version of a really long story. I did do a deep dive on LadyBoss when they first announced that they turned into an MLM. And I also have quite a few LadyBoss videos on my channel, so I will link the playlist in the description so that you can go and kind of familiarize yourself with the MLM if this is a rabbit hole that you enjoy going down as much as I do. Now, with all of that said, we are going to dive into the Zoom call, and then after that, we're going to discuss what an ex-employee had to say about all of this and how she feels and how it all went down, and kind of like a behind the scenes look. Now, as far as anybody's identity, the only people that you will see in this video are Brandon Poulin and Kaelin Poulin. They are public figures. They position themselves as such. At least one of the people who speak is one of the coaches, and she is very public and out there, so she is also a public figure. She will not be blurred. Everybody else will be blurred, including the ex-employee. That's all the housekeeping I have for you. We're going to dive right in. I have not watched this full Zoom call yet. I do know that the individual that shared it with me recorded it on an iPhone from their laptop. So it's not the best quality, but you can hear everything that is being said and all of the things going on. With that said, let's get into it.
We are going to be dissolving LadyBoss and shutting down. So I know there's probably some shock and some feeling of blindsidedness and all of that. And so I just want to share with you guys some information to take in, and then you'll have time to process everything. So at the end of the day, the big question is why. And what I can tell you guys is we've done so many incredible things as a team over the last couple of years for some of you guys going back 5 years. And we've broken records. We've helped so many women. We've helped 700,000 people. And we've done some amazing things as a business. And the reality of business is that the marketplace changes, and it doesn't care about your feelings or your efforts sometimes. And so last year around summer, we lost about 70% of our customer acquisition overnight because of something we had zero control over. And we've been trying to recover from that since, right? We've contracted, we've changed strategy, we've tried to eliminate waste, and we've done so many things, and you guys have worked so hard on all of those things so that we could improve the circumstances and get back to where we need to be. And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, it's been definitely the hardest year of my life, and I also know, for you guys, you've worked so hard to get in so much, and I truly appreciate and respect that more than you could ever know.
Now, the individual that sent this over to me did say that Kaelin didn't speak on the call. She just sat and cried the whole time, and Brandon just kept rambling. The individuals that I can see on the Zoom call are visibly upset. They are showing their emotions. This was, like I said, something that blindsided both the employees and the consumers. So these are employees being told that they are being laid off. And I haven't watched the whole thing. I know what's coming, and it's disgusting.
And with that change last year, with our price of raw materials for some has gone up 80%. A lot of this stuff's due to COVID and the shifts in the economy right now. There's a lot of things that are changing. And so there's just a lot of external factors. The cost of freight has gone up. The competition in e-commerce has continued. And this is the life cycle of a market. It matures and it gets more competitive and it consolidates. And so the hardest part about this for Kaelin and I has been, literally Friday last week, we got everything back, the data and the reports that we needed. And basically that gave us the information to make this decision. So we just found out essentially Friday. And the hardest thing about this for Kaelin and I is you guys. It's the knots that I've had for weeks, knowing this might be a reality and then just confirming it last week. And so I just want you guys to know that I don't have any tears left. Like, they're all gone. Kaelin does, I guess. They're really all gone. And I just want you guys to know how much it hurts us that it's the impact on you guys. That's the end of the day. We pulled our hair out. There's not an ounce of quit in us, and sometimes you just have to face the reality. And so all of you are probably having different and mixed emotions. Some of you might be mad. It's fine. Be mad at me. Be mad at the circumstance. I'm mad at it too. But I'm human, and we've just been trying our best here ultimately. And so it's okay to feel that way. I've worked with most of you guys. A lot of you I haven't worked with one-on-one or had the pleasure to spend a lot of time with you. But there are some incredible gifts and skills and talents in this group and in this team. And this kind of ending, if you will, not being Cinderella, but being an ending, takes nothing away from the incredible amount of accomplishment that all of you guys have had here, the growth that you've had here, the customers that we've helped, and it doesn't take anything away from that at all. It's absolutely been a win at LadyBoss. We've done nothing but do that, and unfortunately, circumstances changed, and we tried our best, and it falls on me. At the end of the day, it falls on me. That's the burden I get to carry, and I'm fine with that. But I truly am sorry. And so for everybody here, unless communicated otherwise, Friday next week will be the last day here at work in 2 weeks, and I'm basically overextending myself, and I should not be doing that. But I wanted to give you guys as much time as I could, the 2 weeks here, and so I just want you to know, like, if I could do it any other way, I would. But I'm literally overextending and doing that for you guys, and
Really, Brandon? I'm overextending myself and doing you guys a favor by keeping you on for 2 more weeks. Sir, in my opinion, I don't feel like that's very professional. I don't feel like in a situation where you are laying off a bunch of employees that it is professional to say, basically, I'm doing you a favor. I'm overextending and I'm doing you a favor to keep you on for 2 more weeks. This is another example of the new age entrepreneur wave that these quote unquote entrepreneurs have no idea what they're doing when they get into business and have no idea how to handle situations like this because they don't have the correct training to do so.
I just appreciate you guys and everything you've done. It's been one heck of a run. I talked to my dad yesterday, and that's the first thing he said to me, which was awesome. It was like, can't look back and be like, oh dang, it's like, wow, look what we did while we were here. Look how you guys grew, and so I want you guys to know, as a company, we're here. As a company, we're here to help you guys transition. I'm sure your supervisor and as a corporate whole, we want to help you as a reference to find your next opportunity. I don't have some, BS HR lingo to tell you besides you're in a great job market. You're not going to have a problem finding an opportunity. And
how the does he know that? And who the is he to say that? I don't have some BS HR lingo to tell you. You're just proving the fact that you shouldn't have a business, which, by the way, they started a whole new business already. It's just so gross to me that he's just like, I don't have any BS HR lingo. Does that mean that you don't have any severance package for them? Like, you're on your own, everyone. Sorry, I don't have any BS HR lingo because we didn't have anything in place for when we were going to have to inevitably lay all of you off. What the fuck? And in a good job market, sir, judging by the looks of the individuals on this call, there are multiple people that are visibly working from home with their children. The simple fact that this was a smaller company where the owners had so much say in everything, I am willing to bet that the flexibility that was given to these employees was not any kind of flexibility that they can find in the great job market that he is claiming is out there. And maybe the BS HR lingo is what you should have came prepared with to a call like this. This is these people's livelihoods. Him and Kaelin are getting millions by selling LadyBoss off. And they are, I don't know, this is just my assumption. And I know, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. This is the content of my channel. I am willing to assume that they do also get residual income or kickbacks from LadyBoss. And I don't have any proof of that, but that's what I'm assuming. So as he's making this speech of blah, 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 with no severance pay or anything like that, these people are not listening to the bullshit he has to say. I would imagine that they have a lot of thoughts going through their head that they just lost their income and they don't know what the they're going to do.
You're probably going to find one that's better than here that you have. And that's true. So just relax and breathe into that reality and know that that is 100% once you process everything and you go, you're going to find something probably rather quickly, and it's going to be a new season. And so I want you guys to know that. So as far as what's next, I recognize that it's not a fun context to be working under for 2 weeks. I recognize that. But I need your guys' help. Our customers need your help, and we're going to go out one last time. We're going to do a liquidation sale. We're going to be slinging $19 bags of lean and $9 boxes of bars. And we're going to do everything we can to.
You just laid all of these people off, and now we're going to talk about a liquidation sale. If this were me and this were my job and this is what I was getting paid to do and this is what was paying my bills, you talking to me about a liquidation sale is not going to be anything that is going to register in my brain at that time. It's just not going to work. No, sir, you figure that out on your own. I would be so pissed So pissed.
To go out with a bang, and I need all your guys' help to do that. We can't do it alone. We can't do it without you. We need you guys' help, and that's what I'm here to ask today is that I could get that help from you guys, and so the timeline of things is Wednesday. Thanks, Jackie. The timeline of things is Wednesday. We'll have our sale. All of the announcements and the emails are all written, and that stuff will get published after this call publicly into our customers. And Wednesday we're going to have the sale, and we're going to leave that up for a short amount of time here in the next few weeks as we wind down. But I need all your guys' help for the next 2 weeks if you're willing to offer it, and to go out with a bang. It's a lot to process, and I know that, and it's difficult to kind of have this and understand that, but we want you to process. We need your help to just go one last hurrah and go out with a bang, and certainly, we want you to be finding your next opportunity at the same time, while you're still on payroll here. And so Bethany is going to circulate an email with the details that you're all wondering in your head about all of that timeline. I gave you the timeline, but benefits and that sort of thing. She's going to circulate all the details for all of that, and we'll make sure to support you and get you the information you need. And so that's basically it. I've been having this conversation at different levels over the last couple of days, and it's been the hardest of my life. And but I know that
I think that if I were in this position, if I was on the call being told that I was being laid off from LadyBoss, the individual who is the face of LadyBoss, who is the actual CEO of LadyBoss, who is the wife of Brandon, who is sitting there silent, I would want to hear what she has to say. And she said nothing this entire call. And that would have infuriated me. And now I get that she's feeling emotions. Like, we don't know the full story behind the scenes. I think there's way more to the story than we are hearing. But I also think that the amount of time, energy, and effort that these individuals put into your company, as a CEO, as a business owner, you should have the ability, I don't know what I'm looking for, the nerve, the guts, the balls to say, hey, I'm really sorry. This is really hard for me too. And just show that you're a human instead of just sitting there and letting your husband do all of the talking and everything. And this seems to be a trend with Kaelin. Whenever anything goes wrong, she disappears. We saw that in her live when she was announcing the challenge and coming back into the LadyBoss community. We saw when she said that she had to just not detach from everything. She couldn't even look at the color pink. It feels that she just runs away from the problem. And when you own a business, you cannot just run away from the problem. And Lord, as a business owner, I wish that were the case. But you cannot just run away from the problem and sit there while your husband tells all of your employees that they are out of a job.
Most of the time, the hardest things that happen are, when I look back, produce the greatest change and the greatest, new seasons, ultimately, because life comes in seasons. So it's humbling. It's not fun. And I'm just grateful to be able to have provided opportunity for you guys. And I hope that you've enjoyed being here. I hope that you've enjoyed growing here. And I know that I have. I've loved every minute of it, to the point where I probably took it farther than I should, because I just wanted to make this work. And so that's where we are. But Kaelin and I, we really, just appreciate so much what you guys have done here. So thank you. And yeah. Jessica, I know you and a couple others here wanted to say a few things to wrap us up today. So I'll let you guys go ahead.
Thank you, Brandon. So many mixed emotions.
Okay, so now we're going to hear from Coach Jessica. As I said, I'm not blurring her face out. She's a very public figure in the LadyBoss community, and she is at the top of the line. I believe that she runs the entire business, while Russell Brunson is the one who purchased it. Jessica is the one who basically runs everything. She's also a family member to Brandon, so.
For sure. And I know that we're all processing things very differently. Last night, as I went through the department roster and looked at every single one of your names and your faces, it really hit home that everybody but 3 people in this company have either worked in my departments or that I have been able to work side by side with. It has been my incredible opportunity to do that. You are my people. You are my people. And as I am looking at the chat here, you are my people. And so what I say, I want you to truly hear, because it is important, because you are important. I want you to process this in your way, in the way that you need to process it. You will go through many, many rounds of emotions, and every one of those emotions is valid and needs to be worked through. There's a lot of stages of grief, and you will go through all of them. We are here to help with all of that. As I have looked back at the 5 years here with LadyBoss and beyond, each of you have grown in skill, you've grown in mindset, you've grown in your leadership, and you are a better person because of it. I am a coach through and through. And as a coach, it is my responsibility to leave you better than when I found you. And I hope that has happened for you. It's kind of like, a little itty bitty baby bird comes out of its egg, and it tries to stretch its wings. And it is very hard for that little bird to do that. Those wings just want to cramp back up and pull back in. And so there have been bumps along the way. We've all had trials and we've all had challenges here. But as those wings have grown stronger and stronger, so have you. But I will tell you, the truth is this. Maybe I have not left you better, but you have left me better. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I look at every single one of you and have such admiration for each of you. It has been my honor and my privilege to work with you. I know this may sound very strange coming from me, but there are some of you that I know I have also stunted your growth because of the opportunities of the external influences that we have felt at LadyBoss, the influences that Brandon talked about with the market of e-commerce, the increasing costs, that your growth has potentially been stunted. And I am so excited to see what you will do next, because those opportunities are huge. And I want you to know that I will always be in your corner, that the relationships that we have built do not end here, that I will always be in your corner. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for making me better.
I'm just not somebody that's I am a very empathetic person, but I think for the shit I've gone through in my life, like, this doesn't do it for me. I'm just like, please. Can we move on? Can I hang up from this call now? Can I go and figure out what the I'm going to do with my life?
All right,
Thank you. Just real quickly, sorry, I was a little emotional there. Thank you, Jessica. And I think we all echo that. This is truly a dream team, and I think it is important to recognize that we fought together, and this is such a strong team. And so, to echo what Jessica said, please go through the process. It is important that we mourn, but I also ask you to kind of experiment with the future and think about what this could be as a launch pad for you. And please let us help you with that launch pad. Turn to us if you need anything as you look for your new opportunity, but please take stock of what you've learned, what your resume looks like, what you have to offer the world, because it's a lot. I've seen this team work together, and it truly is a dream team. And so I ask us to just take care of each other, support each other through the next 2 weeks, and reach out to each other. But know you're supported, and know we'll do whatever we can to help you launch. But there is a big world out there, and you guys are going to do a lot of great things. So thank you for everything you've done, and I'm very excited for what you're going to bring out there to the future. So take care, everyone.
All right, guys. We'll let you process here. Bethany will follow up with the logistics of everything, and we'll be sending out information on what we're doing the next 2 weeks here. It's really just about this final liquidation sale and winding things down. So we'll be in communication on the normal channels for everything. So I know it's hard in these circumstances, but I think we've got a final run here over the next 2 weeks to service our customers in the best way that we can, and so I appreciate that, and truly it's been an honor and a blessing. And when we started this thing 7 years ago, almost 8, getting there, 7.5, we had no idea what it would ever do, and it's all thanks to you guys. Everything that this company has accomplished is thanks to you guys, and I appreciate that. So we love all of you, even though we haven't worked together one-on-one with all of you, or know everything about all of you, but we've been connected through this mission, and LadyBoss will always have that lasting impact for sure, without a doubt. So, all right, everybody, thank you guys for jumping on today, and we'll be in touch.
Oh, she waved. She fucking waved. At some point, you have to grow up and be an adult and take responsibility for your business and your employees. And again, the fact that Kaelin did not say one word to any of her employees this entire call is absolutely infuriating. It's childish. If you disagree with me, then I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. So let's move on. Now that we have the context of what happened on the call that laid off all of these employees, let's talk about the behind the scenes of what really went on when this happened, and what really went on when Kaelin and Brandon were in the behind the scenes more so than they are now, because apparently they still are, but before they sold the company. Now, again, I will be blurring this individual's identity. I will also be changing the voice of the individual. I did also forget to start recording at the beginning of our call, so I will go through and summarize where we need to summarize. Okay, so a little bit of a summary of what this individual did as an employee at LadyBoss. They were in the marketing department with the social media and basically pretending to be Kaelin the entire time. So she explained to me in this call that we had in this little interview that Kaelin was hardly ever posting on social media or replying to messages or doing any of that herself. We also talked about the censorship that goes on in the community and the really shady shit that goes on behind the scenes. So with that, let's get into it.
So in September of 2021, so I'd been in the reputation community, about 8-9 months at that point. I was offered a position in the marketing team as organic content creator. So essentially what my job was to gather content from the community. We would work together. There was 4 of us on the team. So when I started, there was 3 of us. There was a copywriter who was a male. He was a gay man. There was me, and then there was my direct manager who had been there pretty much since inception. And we essentially compiled and created everything that Kaelin put out. Maybe for every 10 posts we did, she'd do 1 post where she was authentically her. But the majority of it was him writing it, me going into the community, getting people's stories or quotes or things like that. And then he would put those in there. I'd get images, and then we'd, slate it out. The manager would also, she'd work on more like long format things and telling certain stories about like body shaming or things like that that she could relate to. And yeah, it really boggled my mind once I got over there, because I still, at this point, I've been working with the company over a year. I was her, posting as her, and I'd still never been on one single Zoom call with her. Never met her, never talked to her, anything. She was just not involved in the day to day. Her husband, Brandon, he ran the company. He was the one that was in all the meetings. He was the one talking about budgets and doing all of this, and getting on the all hands and telling us about the state of the business and all of that. But she was just not. I mean, part of me wants to say maybe there was other things she was doing, but the other half of me is like, what would she be doing when she had such massive amounts of people to be doing everything? I mean, we had a whole team of team to handle cancellations and keeping people on membership, and then there was teams that were doing Better Business Bureau stuff and handling claims. So there's teams of everything, and our marketing department was huge. I had no idea how big it was until I got over there, but we had graphic designers. We had a guy that did all of her videos forever, and he'd fly to see her once a month, and that was basically the only time that she filmed. She'd film once a month. He'd fly out to see her, and then we'd use whatever he filmed to generate more content and put it out there. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got into the marketing department. And there's a lot of different layers of some of the things that I saw and participated in, like testimonies that had literally nothing to do with LadyBoss, transformations that had nothing to do with LadyBoss, but they would post it in the community.
Oh my God.
So then from there, we would take it as fair game and we would snag it up. And then at the end of it, we'd say, P.S., go ahead and buy yourself a bag of LadyBoss Lean. Grab your bars. You know what I mean?
Wow. Now, as she's going through all this, I'm also like thinking in my head, like, why would Russell Brunson, who everybody loves so much in the ClickFunnels community, be okay with this? Also, I have a hard time believing that he's not aware of any of this that went on, especially because he has acquired the business. There has to be some level of transparency of what happened beforehand, not to mention that he has been Kaelin and Brandon's mentor since they started. So what does that say about Russell Brunson? He has to know that this was going on at some point.
But it had nothing to do with LadyBoss. Half of these ladies were not using Lean. Our angels, I ran the angel program for a while when I was in Reputation Community, and they would get free products every month, and they had to like make a certain amount of posts and go live in the community and do all of this. And then once they revamped the angel program and they took away the perks of free stuff, they stopped using the product altogether, which is to me very telling. The fact that the women that were like the biggest fans and all of that wouldn't even buy the product. And I think that's what's the most frustrating to me, is that we had all of these people, all of these resources, all of this money, and we still couldn't sell the shit. Like, we couldn't give it away at the end. Like, we were trying to clear the warehouse because they couldn't afford the warehouse, because they made some bad decisions, overbought a bunch of stuff, especially pumpkin spice. That was, I think, the nail in the coffin was when we brought pumpkin spice back and it didn't fly off the shelves. It was one of the best selling launches that we had. So they bought a bunch of product, but what they didn't either care to listen to or consider was it was also the most returned product. Ladies didn't like it. They thought it tasted like shit.
Wow.
And so we were giving away pumpkin spice with everything. Buy a bag of Lean, get some pumpkin spice, buy Lean. Here's your brownie batter. Like, if you look back at a lot of that stuff, it was because we couldn't sell a bag of Lean by itself. So here's Lean, but here's some fuel. Try the burn pills, free, So that to me is just the saddest part, is these ladies are going into this thinking they're going to be able to sell this stuff because ladies love it, but really the the market's not there. You know, it's so saturated with everybody else and everything else that, you know, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And then these ladies buy all these bags at the end. I mean, it was insane how many bags some of these ladies were buying. And now they're not even letting those ladies get into this new challenge or whatever it is, because you have to be a subscribe and save. I don't know. I try not to look at any of it.
Yeah.
But it sometimes is just like, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And she finally blocked me though, because I made one public comment on her page when she was doing some big talk about, you know, God and this and that and this. And I just, my one sentence was what are God's thoughts on greed? And then she blocked me.
And didn't even respond.
No, of course not. Whether or not it was her or not, I don't know. But that to me was very telling, because, you know, that's a guilty conscience right there. Yeah, and they were doing, I mean, there's so many other little nuances and things that I could talk about, like the fact that they, you know, did a whole massive round of firing while they're buying a multi-million-dollar house in Austin and relocating, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they did that right around October, December. They did like massive rounds of layoffs, and then they came through and we're relocating to Austin, and that was 2021. Yeah, before. So, but when he says things started falling apart, this was after that, you know, because he states that the market changed and products went up and all of this stuff. But I was like, why would you guys then go and buy a multi-million-dollar home if you knew the business was struggling? You should be putting those resources back into the business. It's like at least what my brain thinks. But no, they were doing all of those things. And I found yesterday a video of me sending to my friends where Brandon sends her the Zillow of the house, and it's how I found out about the house before they even had it. And I clicked on it because, of course, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I mean, I was her. So we were supposed to check messages and do things like that. So I was like, oh, what's he sending her? And I looked, and that's when I got that. And I'm just like filming it. And I was like, here we are doing firings and you're buying a house. And it's like, where's the money? Where's the money going? You know, it was absolutely wild to me. And yeah, so that's just kind of some of that. I'm sure you might have, you know, questions and things. Coach Jessica, and that's who's running the company now. And she's a Poulin, so she's related to Brandon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's a Poulin, so she's Brandon's either, I mean, judging by her age, either an aunt. I don't think it's his mother, but could be. But she is a Poulin. She's related to Brandon. And so is Coach Stephanie. So they're related to her.
So it's all still in the family.
Absolutely. I don't ever think she left. And I also confidently can say that they knew about it. They knew they were going to sell it to Russell well before we went out of business. There started being, in December of 2021, our marketing director quit. He up and left, and he spent the last like 2 or 3 weeks of his time there, basically having us on calls and low key, basically telling us like, y'all deserve better. There's better opportunities. Like, let's work on your resumes. If anybody wants to jump ship too. And that's what he was telling the marketing team. So people did start leaving. And instead of replacing him, they promoted another, basically he was kind of like an IT numbers guy. He'd do SEO and stuff like that for marketing. And he put in his notice to quit, and instead they promoted him to the director. So yeah, so just shit like that was happening. People were quitting left and right, but my manager reached out to me in March, and like secretly on the side, and she was like, things are happening. I can't really talk about what, but I highly suggest that you have a plan by summer. And she was just like, I just gonna leave it at that. You know, a couple of us are leaving, but you know, she basically at the time was like, well, I'm gonna stick it out a little longer. I'll let you know when I'm dipping out, but you know, to plan for other things. So that alone tells me that there was talks of either dissolving the business or selling it or doing something with it, because there was things, you know, like it's so crazy looking back at it now, because the red flags were there, like from the beginning. There was just so many red flags, but you hope that they genuinely cared about these women and they cared about their quality of life, and just none of that was really there. It was sales, 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 sales.
Yeah.
There was one particular time though that there was a team of, I think, you know, to launch a sale, there'd be probably about 20, 24 of us that had to be involved to do a sale. From the website to the back end and everything. So we're all there on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. I believe it was before Cyber Monday, so Thanksgiving weekend. And she was supposed to go live in the community and announce Cyber Monday and, you know, get ready for tomorrow, yada, yada. She didn't show up. She didn't answer her phone. Brandon didn't answer his phone. They basically ghosted us the whole day. And after about 2 hours, I was like, all right, well, do we dip out or what do we do? And they're like, yeah, we're just going to go. And then they just the next day said, oh, we forgot. We forgot. And at that point, I was like, y'all don't care about us. You don't care about this
No.
company. Like, I can only assume by her attitude and how she just genuinely was that she didn't want anything to do with the business anymore. You know, I would see them tagging her in things, never got answered in, you know, chats on Google Chats. I would see them waiting to have things approved for days and weeks sometimes, and she wouldn't get on there and prove it, or she'd, you know, just go through and say, okay, 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 but you'd see her okay like 10 things that we had written as
Oh,
her. And you're like, how is she actually reading those when she's okaying 10 things in 5 minutes? Like, there's no way she read them.
yeah.
So, you know, there was a lot of that going on, but I don't know how she can say she was so involved and she just wanted to be a mom because she was already completely hands off. And, you know, of course, there's other things I'm sure she was doing. Like we'd hear, oh, she's at something doing a talk. None of us on the marketing team knew she would be somewhere doing that, you know?
That's
Like she
something
was,
you
That you guys should probably know about, I feel like.
no, so we could market it, we could talk
right.
about it. I've got a video when I, you know, first took over the iPad of me being like, should I share this? I didn't even know this was happening. Like, and
Yeah.
I my manager, and I'm like, what the hell is she up to? And she's on some stage, and there's lights everywhere, and she's speaking at some convention. None of us knew. You know, she didn't
Wow.
keep us in the loop with a lot of that. So yeah,
That
it's
is
pretty wild. So I can't imagine now, other than being a face and a mouthpiece.
Yeah. And it's funny because I mentioned something along those lines in a previous video I did about how she made it sound like she wanted to go and spend time with family, but then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I'm back for this challenge and it's taking up all my time and I have to go give them dinner because I haven't been able to because my time has been taken up by the challenge. And it's just like, what is it? Are you taking the time off to spend time with family? She contradicts herself on all of the levels.
Mhm. Did you see her attempt at launching an entrepreneur business in December?
Oh yeah, is that the one with the attractive character, attractiveness or
I guess
something?
so, but I got an email and she was like, "Hey, join me, my new business venture." And she's like, "I've
Mhm.
been up all night for months." And I'm like, "What happened to your kids, Kaylin?" Like,
Yeah.
it's because they have a multi-million-dollar house and she needs to pay the bills,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know if you follow Adrian Brambilla, if I don't even know if that's how you say it, but he apparently did affiliate marketing for LadyBoss and made over $1 million doing affiliate marketing for them.
Holy shit.
And I kind of stumbled upon him when the business went out, and he's like, find out how I made $1 million off this. And I've never used it once. And it was a bag of LadyBoss Lean. So I kind of follow him. And one of his posts talked about his friends, a couple, you know, who weren't financially stable and they had over $150,000 a month in bills they, you know, had to pay. And I'm
Jesus
just sitting there and
Christ.
I'm like, I
Oh
know
my
who it
God.
is. You know, when your mortgage is, you know, 20 grand or whatever it is a month, like eventually the money is going to run out and you got to figure something else out, you know? So
Just hearing that makes me want to crumble. Like, oh my God, how could you do that?
the day that they went out of business, and it was so tacky, and it was, oh, it was just literally the most disgusting thing. But the day they went out of business, she's like picking up a new toy, really excited, and they went and picked up an Airstream RV, which essentially is a van. I know how much those are, and they started at about 250,000 a piece.
Yeah. Those are
And
not
she went
cheap.
to Louisiana to pick it up, and I was pissed. I was like, it was in between when they announced it, when we actually went out of business, and I was pissed. I was like, wow, here we are all scrambling, trying to figure out what we're gonna do with our lives, and you're picking up your new $250,000 RV for fun, you
It
know?
literally
Really sounds like they were living out a movie with real people as props. Like they were just living out this dream that they didn't care about anybody else that was in the way.
It's wild. It is wild. So
oh, that's so
that's kind of all the
disgusting.
in and outs, but you know, all of that is, you know, it is what it is, I guess. But at what
Yeah.
point does she finally own up to the fact that Lady Boss went out of business because she didn't give a shit? Like, if she had been there in the trenches with us, I think we could have survived. Or
Right.
at least if they would have let go of all the products and went back to what we were in the beginning, we might have survived, you know. But
Yeah.
all of that was them wanting to sell these shakes that I don't even think she took these shakes. All the recipes and everything like that, none of that was her. That was
Yeah.
all just us in another room Googling, you know, what can you do with a shake, and knocking it off of other people that had already generated the stuff, you know?
Were you guys told to do that stuff for the recipes and everything?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow.
Absolutely. I mean, by her, I'm not sure if she even cared enough to know about it, but we would meet, our team would meet, we'd put together a calendar for the month, and we'd know, you know, what content was coming out which days, what we needed to gather, and then we'd work backwards from there. So I'd say, okay, I've got to find, you know, 3 people talking about bars, and the bars were so god awful we couldn't even find people who actually
Oh, I
liked
heard. Yeah.
them or enjoyed them. So most of the time it was a story that didn't match the picture, but we would just put them together. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they that's it's just so, it was just so fake. A lot of it was just so fake. And especially in the end, you know, ladies were already leaving even before we went out of business. I think a lot of them were just tired of all the sales because it was always sale this, sale that,
Hmm.
sale, sale, sale. And that's the only reason she ever came. She didn't do, you know, the things that we enjoyed in the beginning where she'd come on and do Q&As, or she'd talk to us about this, or she'd do a workout, or no. And she would, you know, she would say, oh yeah, you know, I'm a mom now, so, you know, she's gaining weight and doing all these things. And I'm just like, well, you know, are you even doing the program at all anymore? Were
Right.
you ever doing it? You know, because Lean was no part of why she lost all that weight. And what she doesn't say about her losing all that weight and getting her pro card is, you know, she had a coaches, she had trainers, she had nutritionists, like all these things.
And this was funding that, in my opinion, allegedly.
Well, yeah, allegedly. I love how you do that. Like, allegedly. It's like, wow. But, you know, she basically did something really cool and then took that, wrote a book, made an app. I mean, it wasn't even really an app, it was a website. Um, that's just another thing, this that stupid thing. Like, had they put innovation into making a real app, we might have been able to survive. But they didn't want to do that. They were like lean, 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 you know?
Yeah. And even now with the MLM, now being on the inside, was there ever any talks of turning it into an MLM before they sold it to Russell?
No, because we would do like the 3 for free. We did that while we were still in business, but you
Hmm.
had to have like the product on subscription and then get your friends to use your code. And then after a certain amount of time, when you had enough money in your bucket, it would take your automatic monthly subscription and it would use it towards that. But you
Hmm.
couldn't just have people subscribe and not be buying it yourself, or otherwise that money would just poof go away.
Right.
But no, there was no talks of any of that from her or anybody in there. I'm sure maybe at a different level it was discussed, but we were very much adamant, even in, you know, our responses to stuff was, we're not an MLM. We don't want to, you know, we're not Herbalife. It's not a magic shake. Like, you still have to do the work, you know?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, then not that I know of any of that, not that I saw, but it was the 3 for free. And then it was, I want to say the Angels had some sort of referral program, but no, they were just doing the 3 for free too. So that was the only version of it. And it's because it was always the same thing. It was too expensive. Shit's,
Yeah.
and it's even worse now. I saw the price for 20 servings. It used to be 30. Now it's
Oh, yeah.
20 and it's even more expensive. I'm like, that's not even a month of shakes. And of course
I
they tell
know.
you to do it twice a day. So you need 4 boxes to get through a month. Like, who's
Hmm.
going to spend that much money? Yeah, I will say the shit tastes good. Like, I do enjoy it. I still unfortunately have a stockpile of it myself, um, that I've wanted to let go of, but I just see it as money because
Right.
they didn't give employees any of the flavors for free, and that's where all the good ones. The ones they don't even sell anymore were what ladies love. They love the flavors, the cereal, the brownie batter, the, you know, cinnamon toast crunch. Like, that's what the ladies loved, and that's not even an option anymore. And I doubt they'll bring it back because it didn't, you know,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable. Especially, that was the other thing that they did wrong, is they told all these ladies, you know, once it's gone forever. And then all of a sudden, it's like, we pulled it out. We found a box in the warehouse or a pallet. And I'm like, yeah, you're just pulling all these pallets out of the warehouse every month, huh?
Are you really
Where are
that
we going?
unorganized?
Yeah. So no, it was just that they would make the supply and demand, but it really wasn't there. And then they would just put it back out and do it again and do it again. So
Oh my
That's
God.
I'm just so surprised though that they're still doing the challenges the way that they are, because that's another thing is like all the contests, all the things like that, she didn't know any of the things. Like she wasn't the one in there looking at all the submissions for lean, how do you lean. It was just a gaggle of us who would pick some people, and there were favorites, so usually they won. And then we'd post as Kaelin announcing and congratulating, and I'm so proud of you, but she had nothing to do with those posts, you know what I mean?
Did
Do you
she?
ever like specifically say like this person has to win?
No,
No.
but she didn't know who had entered. So how could she pick a
Right.
winner? Because she didn't give a shit about who entered, how they entered, the videos. And she'd be like, "Oh my God, I loved it so much." Like, no, you didn't. We put them in a spreadsheet, and then from the
Mhm.
spreadsheet, the marketing department picked somebody they wanted to win. Which most of the time, I find out once I went to marketing, they didn't care either. They literally just picked the first one. Sometimes they were just like, "All right, cool,
Right.
that's the one." Oh, it's a mom and she's got her kid holding a shake. Perfect. That's it. And it was just because they were just so busy putting out iterations of ads. We had 200 ads running that we had to monitor, and it was like, and it still didn't sell it. It still didn't sell it. So there was like different Facebook groups that were started, like LadyBoss Misfits
Oh
and
yeah.
LadyBoss Trades and all these things. And part of our job and reputation community was to like infiltrate it and find out who's in there and block them in the community. And like that's how much censorship was
Wow.
built around it. It was them wanting to control everything, and they're still doing that. I mean, they still are.
Yeah.
Like when you're drinking the Kool-Aid and you're in the cult, like you're in it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it really did feel like a freaking cult. It did. And you know, I'm thankful that I was working there, that I did work there, because otherwise I'd probably still be one of the girls that was like supporting her and
Yeah.
seeing all the fakeness. But I was like, no, like she's got her motives, and none of them are helping women.
Yeah, unfortunately. So you were with them for how long before you actually met her?
I barely. So she would. Let's see here. I've got the exact date. It was I think in March. So literally 3 weeks before we went out of business. 2 weeks before we went out of business was when I
Wow.
finally was on a call with her, and I was still so excited because I was like, holy shit, like the unicorn. And every once in a while you'd see her name on a meeting. And when I first was in marketing, I was like, it's gonna happen, and I'd get all dressed up and I'd be all excited. And she never came. And then I realized, like, oh, okay, she doesn't come to meetings, she doesn't do any of the dailies, she's not. And then I realized, oh, she doesn't write anything that she's writing pretty much. Like, yes, of course, every once in a while she'd put something out, but most of it wasn't her. It wasn't her at all. It was a man talking about, being a mom and, having kids and all these things. And he's wonderful. I mean, I
Yeah,
freaking
yeah,
love
yeah.
him. And it just cracks me up because, I'm in my 30s. I'm not a mother. I couldn't relate to any of that at all. Like I liked before she had kids because I felt like that was relatable.
Mhm.
And then once she became a mom, it was all about moms, 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 moms. And I get it, it's a marketing angle, but it cracked me up that, a man whose husband also worked in the company was here talking about the plight of women and how it was to be a mom and all these things. And it just cracks me up.
So his husband also worked there?
Yeah, yeah, he
And
did.
what?
What did his husband do? The same thing?
No, no. So he was actually in quality assurance. And then
Oh, okay.
he was like the head though QA. So he'd be the one QAing, running the QA team and all that. So um yeah, he was in the more of the customer support side, whereas he was the writer and he was on the blog team. So when the blog team got fired, he was one of the ones that was fired. And then they came and they said, hey, because his husband was going to quit. He's like, this is bullshit, like. And so, in order to appease them, they offered him a job in reputation community for significantly less pay, and that's where I met him. And I kind of befriended him because, we were the only two that weren't like, "Hey guys, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's so much fun!" And you know what I mean? We were just kind of there, and I would like look at him, and I'm like, he's not drinking the Kool Aid, and I was already at that point kind of like, this shit's bitter. So I was like, hey, buddy, how are you? And then I became friends with him. And I found out through him that, all the blogs that were her, all of the website stuff, that was a team of people, including him who would. And then at some point, he went back to marketing because they needed a writer. And they were like, well, we've got a blog writer over on this team. Let's just pluck him. Because they stopped hiring. Like at some point, they had to stop hiring because they were
Mhm.
doing all these fires, but places were getting strained. So instead of hiring people, they were just moving them around, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were both in, you know, his husband was with us until the end. But he thankfully got out before that because he was just like, I can't. He's like, it was so toxic there at the end, even within departments and things. And it just got, you know, the sales is really what it was. It's every day it was like, all right, we got to do a sale next week because we need to do this and we need sales and we need numbers. And I think it was just to try to appease investors at that point because we weren't making the sales that they needed us to have. So let's give it away so at least it looks like we're selling stuff.
Right. Now, the people that you worked with, do all of them kind of feel the same way as you, do you know? Or have they jumped on the MLM wagon? What does that look like?
So when our last day was there was this like massive, and I had screenshots, but I'm guessing they were on the laptop and they locked us out of them like at 5 p.m. that day. They locked us all out. So everything I had on the computer, including like my portfolio shit I was trying to build from that, like everything was gone. And they were like, no, we can't let you back in for any of it. So pretty much, but I had taken screenshots because I thought it was hilarious how people were like thanking, you know, Kaelin and the company and people that had no idea. Because if you were on customer service, if you were on the membership team, if you were on the sales team or any of those teams, you didn't realize how little she did. You just didn't, because why would they talk about the fact that Kaelin's not Kaelin, you know? So there was a bunch of people who were like thanking them. And then there were the ones that came out and I just was kind of quiet. I just was like, but then there was ones who you thought were like her most loyal people. And they basically were like, you, like this company, all of this shit is lies and da 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 da. And then, you know, they'd start removing them. And then they just said, screw it, we're shutting it all down, deleted chats completely, kicked everybody out and locked the computers down. Right after we posted the last of the sale at like 4 o'clock that day or whatever.
It seems like they always, like, whenever there's an issue, it's just
delete,
disconnect.
We're not going to deal with that issue. We're just going to delete it.
Yeah, because there's no room for negativity. No room for negativity. Even genuine concerns was like, no, you can't talk about that. Like, that's not the way it is. But so there were definitely people at the end, but like everybody had jumped off of there and they had like chats on LinkedIn and things where everybody was just kind of like, this company. And most people didn't even work the last week. All I did was post at that point. For the sale. So like I had a sheet that said, you know, 2 o'clock these stories go out, 1 o'clock that post this link to there, or, you know, I would just be basically on here posting stories from her, you know, whatever my little basic bit of job, but I wasn't creating any more content. I wasn't doing any of that in the end. And most people just were clocking in and working on their resumes. I do know that 2 of the managers did get retained and they're working under Jessica. Because I've seen them, you know, I've seen them in the pictures and things of, you know, being at the Phoenix and the Rising event and stuff. So I know they retained 2 of the managers, but other than that, nobody else that I know of was contacted to come back to the company and work in any kind of capacity. You know, I never made public that I was so pissed. So part of me was like, okay, if they're coming back, maybe they'll offer me a job and I can at least, you know, do something for them and you know, just to kind of get my foot back into wanting to do it. Really, it would have just been, I think I would have declined it anyways, but it would have been nice if they'd have said, hey, you know, we know that we put you all, so we're back in business. Does anybody want jobs? A lot of the women are like me though, and just want nothing to do with it. I know her head of her coaching department, like her top sales rep, wrote a book called Pink Flags. I haven't read it yet, but it's on Amazon, and it's basically all of the things that she should have known about being manipulated and lied to from an employer. Because she had the one part of the company I didn't have my feet in, and that was the coaching department. And when coaching started, that was another one that caused so many ruffles. I was at live when they announced coaching, and a bunch of women got up and left. You know what I mean? They were pissed because it was.
What does that even entail?
Whole shit ton of money. It was about, I think, $400 a month. It was like a $5,000 membership for the year, something like that. And they would be put in a group and they would get a coach. It wasn't Kaelin though, it was one of her coaches. And they're the same ones that are in there probably doing, like they used to be the ones in the challenges. The coach would be in there doing the daily, whatever it was. Because again, Kaelin wasn't involved in any of it. So she couldn't be bothered to jump on there and live and do any of that stuff. They would just have pre-recorded videos that they would play at certain days. and that was Kaelin in the challenge. So, but coaching was a lot of money, and these women were really coaches, though. They were really like nutritionists and stuff, and a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
what they put out and said contradicted directly to what we're telling women in the community, you know. But that was always the upsell is, you know, we can't tell you how many calories and macros. We don't count calories here. But if you want more one-on-one help, join our coaching program. And a lot of women realize like this isn't going to be something for everyone. It's going to be something for those who can keep buying into whatever the next level is. So yeah, the coaching and that from what I see, they dissolved that completely too because I'm still in the coaching
Mhm.
group. And they said they were going to keep running it, but then at some point Russell's like, no, like we can't have anything else with LadyBoss on it, so they cut that down. But yeah, the coaching was a whole another cluster F. But Millie was the head of that. She was another person like me who was a customer before, loved the program, and essentially lost a bunch of weight, started working for her, and then kind of I guess probably started to see all the lies. But so
Yeah.
there's a homage podge of it, and I feel like a lot of it is if you weren't in marketing or coaching and some of those upper levels to see kind of the other sketchiness going on, you probably would still kind of give in and believe what
Mhm.
we were told because we were told like the customers, you know, that she's just so busy and doing all these things.
Right.
But it's like, what was she doing?
Wasn't, you know, she wasn't coming to meetings. She wasn't talking to the sales team. What was she doing? I have no idea. I don't know, but I do know my truth, and that's that,
Yeah.
you know, I worked for her, I was her, and I still never met her. You know, what I can say is that, you know, they built a culture of toxic positivity, they censorship, you know,
Mhm.
it wasn't about listening to these women, it was about showing, you know, showing what they want to show, the lie they wanted to tell. So
Yeah. So there you have it, a real true life story of an ex LadyBoss employee that was laid off when LadyBoss decided to close down in April of 2022. I'm going to be sharing a story from an ex-consumer of LadyBoss and LadyBoss Lean and an ex-member of the community, if you will. That'll be in my next video. That is also super interesting and kind of everything kind of ties in and makes sense when you hear the story. So make sure you're subscribed because that video is coming out next. Also, if you have a story, whether it's LadyBoss or any other scam or MLM, I would like to start getting more of these types of videos out where I'm telling other people's stories or horror stories and react to those. So make sure that you send them to me. I will leave my email address in the description below. And I'm going to go work on that next video, and I will see you in that one.